Jeremy, how long would it take you to drive to outer space?
Outer space?
Yes, outer space. What is officially outer space?
That's 23 minutes.
I can believe that, actually.
Is outer space outer as in from Earth, or is it from the sun?
No, from...
It's just from us, and it's just above where I am.
Is
if
it?
you're tall, I'm nearly at the edge.
No.
And it's 600 miles
It's actually...
to the top of the ionosphere. And that's widely considered to be the start of space. But whether that's considered to be outer space, I don't know. Are you counting that as outer space?
No, outer space begins, according to the Fédération Internationale d'Espace or something.
Who are French?
Yes, it's actually only 62 miles to outer space.
No, it isn't.
Straight up.
No, it isn't.
Oh, OK.
Wouldn't it depend on the traffic?
62 miles
Yeah.
is what you're saying is outer space. Did you know there was a man called Joe Kittinger who once jumped out of a hot air balloon at that height? 1961?
Oh, dead Joe Kittinger.
No, he's not. Him. Flat.
Just flag up one small thing.
Go on.
There isn't actually any sort of road system.
No,
Well, I've often wondered, why could you not, if it's only 62 miles to what people call space, why can't you just build a ladder? I mean, it can't be beyond the wit of man to build a ladder that just goes straight, and then you could walk up it, save a lot of bother.
yes.
And
Oxygen pack necessary, but...
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you've got an oxygen
Jet
mask,
stream.
maybe a lift.
Oh, lift would be good.
Why
Once you
couldn't
get up
do
there,
that?
there's nothing really there, is there?
Not
It's
much.
a bit like Norfolk, isn't it?
You just be careful.
There's a rule with asking directions, though, which men tend not to do, I think, as much as women, but if the person you ask says, drive on.
I've parked on their foot.
Or if they say, do you want the easy way to get there? No. I want to be tortured and left for dead on the side of the road. I was in Canada once, and I'm asking directions. I was trying to find this friend's farm, and I stopped this farmer, and he says, you go down the road about 3 miles, and then you'll see a big dead possum in the middle of the road. And go left there. Well, how do you know the dead possum will be there? And he said, well, would you pick up a dead possum?
Good.
I was getting directions once on the phone, and I was actually writing them down. And I realised after about a minute, I'd stopped listening and started drawing like a great big elephant. Big bollocks on it and everything. And I just realised, and someone said, we were actually driving along, so I said, where is it? I said, well, you go down the left. Ooh.
If you ask a lady for directions, she'll ask you a question back. So if you say, do you know where the post office is? She'll say, do you want to buy a stamp? And you find you're having a nice chat and everyone's friends.
Yeah.
But you have no idea where the post office is.
So there you are. If you could drive straight upwards, then it would take under an hour if you were going at about 60-odd miles an hour. Outer space is defined as anywhere outside a planet's atmosphere, according to the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale. This is 62 miles above the surface of the Earth. Apart from the obvious, what's unusual about the New Guinea singing dog?
Did you say apart from the obvious?
Well, the obvious being that it's a singing dog, yes.
It's the only singing dog never to have been on Esther Ransom.
It's a tiny little dog and a huge bath of potpourri. It sings so high that no one can hear.
Well, we do. You can actually hear him sing if you want to. I think we've got him singing.
All right.
Go on, then. That's like Gracie Fields falling off a cliff, isn't it?
Well, a pretty little dog. It's a mixture, supposedly, between a fox and a dingo.
But it has no feet.
It actually never moves. It's stuck in the ground.
Now that's where you're wrong, young Davis.
It's the only dog that climbs trees.
Yes, is the right answer.
Well done.
Absolutely brilliant. Well done. Absolutely spot on. You know, like tigers, the New Guinea singing dog is also extremely rare in the wild and is best known from the 150 examples living in the US. There are more of those in the US than in its natural habitat. Again, dogs, like chickens, have an amazing How many chromosomes have you got as a chicken, do you remember?
78.
78, well done.
78,
God, you really are absolutely on fire, young David. Now, Jimmy, how many burglaries are committed in the UK by koalas every day?
Every day?
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing it's quite a low figure. Now, are we talking breaking and entering or planning to deprive of property on a continual basis because they're different charges?
You're...
The thing about koalas is they are the most law-abiding of all the bears.
Of course, they're not bears.
Order!
Yes, Alan.
They're not bears.
Thank you.
They've got a very long intestine. They sleep for 22 hours a day.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, all the indigenous mammals in Australasia are marsupials.
Are therefore not mammals.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Did you know that? They're cats. They're cats, all of them.
I think they're fish. Try to say something clever. Sorry, back to the knob gags.
Well, no, fair point. The things that are almost like furry, but aren't.
Well, if I said almost like furry, I would have sounded like Alan. There'd be no point to that. I was trying to be all clever.
Sorry, that koala, it looks like he's waiting for the fire brigade.
Look at his paws, though.
I was going to say,
Look at his
what's your favourite bit of the koala?
The paws are gorgeous.
Do you like
aren't
the little hand?
I like the cock.
they? Oh, stop.
I told you.
Fluffy ears, or the little hard-nosy bit? What's
I
your
want
favourite?
you, though, to concentrate on the paws.
I like the lips toasted.
Concentrate. Yes,
I've
Jimmy.
got it. Fingerprints, because koala fingerprints are indistinguishable from human fingerprints.
Fingerprints is right, Jimmy. Well, let's have a look. Let's see some human prints, some koala prints, and maybe some chimpanzee prints. Which is which, would you say?
Human print is on the left. No, it's not. It's in the middle.
So what's that? Human in the middle?
Yes.
Right, and chimpanzee and...
Oh, chimpanzee is on the right, and
Yeah.
that one over there, that's a koala. I'm mistaken.
Oh, I wonder if you're right. No, it's a human on the left and a koala in the middle and a chimpanzee on the right. And even under a scanning electron microscope, it's incredibly hard to see any difference between a koala print and a human print. And the chimpanzee is very closely
That's
related.
extraordinary, because the koala evolved in isolation in Australasia.
It's called convergent evolution, where things that are evolving completely separately come up with similar solutions.
Or they were all made by God.
Or they were all made by God. So anyway, koalas have fingerprints that are almost identical to human beings, and this was discovered by a Polish man called Handbag, who is an anthropologist and paleopathologist, but also a dermatoglyphic expert. And the word dermatoglyphics means the study of fingerprints.
Yeah, of course it does.
And I'll give you 10 points if you can tell me what's unusual about this word. It shares a particular property with only one other word in the English language.
Does it have all the letters of the word dermatoglyphic in
In the
I tell
right
you,
order.
the only other word that shares this property is the word uncopyrightable.
Is it the vowels in the right order?
No, they're the longest words in the English language, 15
Without
letters,
E in it?
with no repetition of a letter, which all the letters are different.
That's
Simple
fantastic.
as that. Each of the panel also has, I believe, a swizzle, a small device used by professors of Punch and Judy. And what do they say with it? Oh, very good.
Which way in does it go?
Now, you've also each got a joker, and you will find it has a squirrel on it. So when you think the right answer to any question this evening is squirrel or anything to do with squirrels, you press your buzzer, you play the card, and you shout squirrels. All right?
Without swazzles, Stephen? Without swazzles?
Without swazzles. No, don't shout squirrel with a swazzle. You'll swallow it.
It's impossible.
No, that... If you want to do that, it would take time. You don't want this... If you don't take your swazzles out very soon, I will kill you. Thank you. Yes. Well, at least you haven't swallowed it. You have to swallow one at least twice in order to be called a professor of Punch and
Is that your
Judery.
qualification?
Apparently.
Do they have to be there when you defecate? Yes, there it is.
Congratulations, Professor.
Does it go? Are you...
Cat derives from the Latin catulus, Clive.
That's the angriest looking cat.
This is furious. I want you to tell me what the word catulus means.
Well, it means cat. It obviously means something else before that. Okay.
We took the cat from catulus and described cats with it. The Romans didn't call their cats catulus, but...
Dogs.
Yes, is the right answer. Catulus meant a dog.
there in the picture.
It was there. See what you see, Nay. See what you see. It was on the picture there.
Hang on, another one's appeared.
Little one.
What have you done to that cat, you filthy dog?
In case...
The word rabbit's an interesting word, odd enough, because
Because that comes from the Latin for giraffe.
Well, they all know cat. It comes from kata, meaning down in Greek, as in all kinds of words beginning with kata. So it was described for puppies first, because the little things that hit the ground were the catulus, and became a word for a puppy and then for a dog. And we took the cat bit and called cats with it. Do you know what cataglottism is?
You get a cat stuck in your throat.
It's a very old word, a much older word than the word you might use for French kissing. It means to put your tongue down someone's throat. Literally, put your tongue down. Cata, down, glot, glottis, tongue.
Why is that cat so cross?
It is, isn't it?
Really, really
Something
cross.
is stapled to that table.
It's been made to pose for that photo.
I said
like his
I'll do a
passport
picture
photograph.
with 2 other cats. And I'm going to get onto my agent. I am not a dog. Second time this week. I'll do this one more, and then I'm going.
It's a wonderful theory, because the more you look into its eyes, the crosser it seems to get. Puss is actually from the ancient Egyptian, pasht, meaning cat, or moon, incidentally.
Why is pussy another word for front bottom?
I don't know, it's not my area of expertise. We've covered before. Now, this is the big one. 200 pointeroonies at stake. For those 200 points, what is that?
That's a cuttlefish.
I know what that is. That's a text message from someone who's very pissed.
It's a process, it's a happening, it's a, as it were, a chemical episode.
Is it some sort of an explosion?
That's brilliant. She's right.
Is there some sort of food stuff involved in it?
This is brilliant. My God.
No.
Did you do this at school?
Yeah, I did domestic science at school. And I know an explosion when I see one, and I think, and I'm only going on a hunch here, I think it's an explosion in a custard. Sort of a custard explosion.
How did you know that? I have to give a 200... Yeah, there's an old
Domestic
phrase,
science,
an explosion in a custard factory. That is what happens when custard explodes. There was an explosion in Norwich, in fact, my old manor, on the 21st of July last year. It's the oxidisation of glucose is what happens, and it can be pretty nasty. What custard facts can I offer you? There was a food survey conducted in the year 2000, and it was discovered that 99% of all British people recognised the brand Bird's custard. Bird invented it, Sir Alfred Bird, an eggless custard powder, because his wife was allergic to eggs. It was a kindness to his wife. He also gave the world baking powder in order to keep our boys in the Crimea in good bread. Remarkable man. Yeah. What do the French call custard?
Coutard.
Yes, but no. They don't really have a word for custard. They don't believe it exists. I mean, that's to say, they just don't recognise...
Take some over and pour it on them.
Well, I mean, what we call custard, they call crème anglaise.
Yeah.
But they don't sort of recognise... But what we call confectioner's custard, they just call crème, and what they make...
You know what? I was in a restaurant today, and it said apple pie with crème anglaise.
Yes, that's custard.
And I thought...
Pathetic.
I'll have it anyway.
Yeah, I think it's custard.
What would you
Was
say if you thought, I want
stuff,
custard on it? I'm afraid, sir, it does not exist. You have placed me into an existential quandary. I'm afraid I'll have to leave the restaurant. You, sir, you are bound for life.
Why would you go to the restaurant in London? Why would they do that in London?
Poncinous.
What's
Sheer
wrong with them?
pretension.
They don't want custard on the menu, do they?
Come on, no, exactly. They think it's in for dig.
I bet they make proper real custard instead of nice custard out of a packet.
Third stuff. I must say I prefer real things.
And do you know what I love about custard? Viscosity. I love viscosity. Because when you put the spoon through, you have exactly the amount of push with the spoon.
You use the same amount of energy as you would if you were pouring water onto your pie.
Well, what?
Except in France, where you just do that over an invisible bowl.
Did you know that if you have muesli, you can have it with water, tastes the same as it does with milk?
Exactly.
Except less milky and you.
It's a lot better with Lambrusco, I have to say.
Tonight, any flamencos you give in Pyong score Barney, and I'll also give you 2 sundaes. It's Cockney rhyming slang. Any flamencos?
Flamenco dancing
Answers in
Pyongyang.
slang.
Score Barney, rubble, double.
Yes.
I'll give you
It's all
2
right.
Sunday roasts, posts.
Sunday joints, points. If at any nickel and dime time, you woman who does buzz.
Buzz.
Woman who does. That's all I can think of.
Oh, so we're doing middle-class Cockney rhyming slang.
Woman who does.
The woman who does.
Woman who does.
Want to lubricant me.
Yeah. Lubricant gel, tell.
Lubricant.
You can tell me what I'm on about. It's a whole new genre of argot.
Yeah, a Labrador groomer.
What do you think your pantomimes would translate as?
Pantomime dames' names.
Yes.
Phil Jupiter's is Cockney rhyming slang for hypochondriac. Ill, dubious.
Ill dubious, very good. That's good. I like it. Rory.
Well, there are 2 official Rory McGraths, apparently. There's having a laugh, Rory McGrath. He's having a Rory. I'll have a Rory. That's a half.
And Bill.
Well, I imagine the only thing I think probably might be scaly. You know, your skin's gone a bit Bill Bailey, scaly, you know. You've got a bit of an Arthur Ashe on your Roberta. You know, it's gone a bit Bill Bailey.
What does Alan Davis give us, I wonder?
Doesn't really rhyme with anything apart from Mavis. Unless you know someone called Mavis.
Yes.
It's Alan Davis.
Mavis is the old word for a thrush.
Yep, it's a
so you
thrush.
could say, I've caught a bit of Alan.
Yeah, that's true.
It's gone a bit Bill Bailey.
Yeah. What's the commonest metal in the human body?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
Iron.
Iron? Oh dear, no.
I think it's mercury.
Oh dear.
I think it must be calcium.
Oh no, he's got it. It's calcium. Absolutely right. £100. Yeah.
Because the bones are mainly calcium phosphate crystals, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wood.
Calcium atomic number 20. Last year I learned all the atomic numbers of all the elements.
Good Lord.
Because I was helping my son to revise. And I've actually tried to forget them as much as I can since then because it's just been so embarrassing
Selenium?
to know them all. Selenium. 30 something.
I have no idea. I know it's close to arsenic because I saw
It's
it
34.
in the film Evolution.
It's 34. Selenium is 34, arsenic's 33.
Very good. Isn't it good?
But
we
calcium,
should really put railings round you and have children come and stare
calcium,
at
I
you.
presume, because calcium phosphate is the main constituent of bones.
Indeed, calcium is as a metal is almost never found in nature.
Phosphorus is, of course, I think 15.
Yeah, let's move aside from the slightly more...
We're doing atomic number wheelies now. Wow! You pull up outside pubs and go, selenium 32.
Calcium comes from the Latin calx, isn't it? Meaning a stone or a pebble,
yeah.
from which we get calculus and calculation, and recalcitrant, and all kinds of words. There you are. It was discovered in 1808 by Sir
I think
Humphrey Davy.
recalcitrant actually comes from calx meaning a heel, not calx meaning it's kicking back.
You're right, you should have points to that. It is indeed from a heel, you're quite right.
Now, this is a team game, isn't it? I'm on his team.
And what's another name for the common cormorant? Yes, Rory.
Sea crow.
Oh, very good, it is. That's the right answer. Any other...
The Latin name is Phylacrocorax.
What were you going to say?
Can I just give the Latin name? The cormorant is the Phylacrocorax carbo. The shag is Phylacrocorax aristotelis. It doesn't have the white face and the...
This is brilliant. I mean, this is everything I've got written down.
Tosser, mate.
Only...
Oh, no. Poor Rory.
It's a fair question. I only get called tosser by other people. The reason the sea crow is the actual word cormorant comes from Corvus marinus, which is the Latin for sea crow.
Old swatty.
Yeah. The Phylacrocorax graculus would be... It's the crested cormorant, isn't it? Yes, because the graculus is a jackdaw.
No, a jackdaw is Corvus monedula.
Yes, but it's another word. It's the actual Latin name. The actual Latin name for a jackdaw was graculus.
OK, so let's not fall out over this, Stephen.
No, it's what... No, I'm saying real Latin. No, you might be interested. Roman people actually call birds things before they want. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
Sorry about that. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Come on, Sean.
There's a portal into the underworld here. It's ridiculous.
Anyway, I'm impressed with Rory, and I think everyone else is too. No,
I've got a feeling, Rory, that you have pulled.
You all know what to do with a custard pie, but Alan, what's a custard pile?
It's sort of yellow hemorrhoid.
Shot in the dark, buildings in a geologically unsafe, some sort of liquid foundation.
That's a wonderful thought. Absolutely nothing like the answer, but a very nice
Squirrel. Is it squirrel?
No, it's not squirrel. It is an animal, on the other hand.
It's custard pile.
Recognised colour from a breeders' association of a particular... Not a cat.
A dog.
Not even a mammal.
A ferret.
Not a mammal.
A goldfish.
No,
Lizard.
not a fish,
Lizard.
neither.
Lizard, some sort of lizard.
Not a lizard.
Gecko. And we're running out of major animal groups.
It's a bird.
Canary.
Not a canary.
Parrot.
A fighting bird.
A cock.
It's a cock. It's a fighting cock, a game cock.
What have you got? I've got killer lungeons, and I've got custard pile.
You can have cocks in muff. You can have... You can have tassel, spangle, carp legs, milk and water legs. Do you know anything about cocking at all?
Well, I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but...
For 2,000 years, it was Britain's national sport, cockfighting. Every village would have at least one cockpit. Can you think of any phrases that come from cockfighting we use today? Cockpit is one. Yep. Well done. Show a clean pair of heels, well-heeled. To pit someone against. You describe someone as game, as in being up for it. That's from cockfighting, yeah. It says here, a good cocker would think nothing of cleaning his cock's wounded head by sticking it in his mouth and sucking it clean.
Yeah.
Yes. You're watching QI for the straight guy.
Yeah. His first Prime Minister, team, panel, friends.
Wasn't it Walpole?
Walpole? Oh, no. Shame on you. No, it wasn't.
Lord Snooty.
Pitt.
Oh, but you meant the younger. Yes, you meant the younger.
The elder was a tree, wasn't he?
Was it some sort of king that proclaimed himself the Prime Minister before he handed over power?
No, he was a politician. It was in the last
Oliver
century.
Cromwell?
It was 100 years ago, almost exactly, that he became Prime
Israeli.
Minister. 100 years ago. Well, never mind. No. 100 years ago would be 1905, wouldn't it?
This show favours people who know stuff.
No, it's so unfair.
Someone like Roosevelt MacDonald?
No, he was a bit later. 1905 to 1908.
Campbell Bannerman.
Henry Campbell Bannerman. Well done, thank you, absolutely. Henry Campbell Bannerman. He's not perhaps the best known of our prime ministers, but he ought to.
He was one of triplets as well.
He was actually a very good prime. He introduced old age pensions. He fought for the poor.
He was the first prime minister. What were they called?
They were called First Lord of the Treasury before that. He was the first one to be called Prime Minister.
First Lord of the Treasury?
Yeah, they're still First Lords of the Treasury if they're Prime Minister, but they're Prime Minister and First Lord of the Treasury now. Before they were simply... They used the word Prime Minister sometimes as an insult, but they were never called Prime Minister until 1905.
What was Ethelred the Unready?
He was a king. Yes. His last words, Henry Campbell Bannerman, were, "This is not the end of me." The term Prime Minister was first officially used in 1905, just 5 days after Campbell Bannerman became one. And Sir Robert Walpole generally recognised... There were 7 Roman emperors who bore the name Caesar, not counting Julius, who started the whole thing, but of course wasn't himself an emperor. We all know what he did. He came, he saw, he conquered. But what did Nero do? Oh, did you say that? Oh, Joe, he didn't fiddle while Rome burned, no.
He had a concrete swimming hat.
He was very, very... He was very productive, wasn't he, Nero? He built most of Rome, not the Rome you see.
Well, he rebuilt it after it was burned down, indeed.
Did he have an enormous gold statue of himself built? Incredibly vain and stupid.
Vain is the word. His dying words were, "What an artist dies in me." And he played...
Was there someone in him at
and
the
of course... Small Fauviste painter has just perished inside my being. Well, anyway, no, of course, the fiddle didn't exist in Roman days. The fiddle was invented, in the 15th century, I think, something like that. So he would have played Cithara or something, a sort of lyre-like thing.
But was he doing it like a sort of fire engine alarm? Like...
Well, there's some evidence he did try and put the fire out, actually. He blamed a small sect of people for the fire. It was a very useful scapegoat.
The gays?
No. Even smaller, slightly less well-dressed, and oddly enough, to this day, enemies of the gays.
It wasn't the Chavies.
No, it was even worse than the... It was
Coptics?
Those damned Christians, yes. Nero, played by Christopher Biggins, of course, in TV's popular I Clavdivs.
I Chavdivs.
Yeah. Some people think he may have even been playing bagpipes when he was watching...
Christopher Biggins? No, he is actually that size. Bagpipes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
No, can't be having it.
They have this tuning, and it's odd that Scots do that when they talk. I'm not sure. Very odd, though. So anyway, there we are. There's old Nero, whatever he was. He was eventually booed off, of course, and succeeded by a more popular entertainer who was called Galbus, Servius Galbus Caesar Augustus, to be precise. And he got rid of bagpipe performances and he replaced them with tightrope walking elephants. What are the contents of the Queen's handbag?
I don't think I've ever seen the Queen get anything out of her handbag. She's certainly never done that thing that women do, where they go, "It's in here somewhere, I know." So my suspicion is that she probably has nothing in her handbag. I think it's probably a kind of social defence. And it means she doesn't have to hold Prince Philip's hand, look.
The Little Book of Calm. And mace spray. Because there's a lot of people around her who get too close. There's men in big hats. It's like, back off, back off!
Apparently the Queen does carry money, but a lot of people think she doesn't, but apparently she, for Sundays, she always has money, an unspecified denomination, folded in her handbag there. And also she has a comb, apparently, a handkerchief, a small gold compact, and a tube of lipstick. Maybe she gets upset if she carries a fiver, saying, "God, I used to be so pretty."
She's got a deep-fried curly-whirly in there. She's got to have some pleasure.
Yeah. Ah, yes.
She sits in the loo
What do they
and
look like?
eats
Oh,
it
yes, like that.
quietly in the throat. She crams it all in when no one's looking. I'm all right.
What What's the connection between Nancy Kerrigan and Way Corrigan? Yay.
She was the skater who had her legs smashed by Tonya Harding.
Absolutely right.
And he was another skater who had his legs smashed by another skater.
That's not right, but the link is, what was Tonya Harding doing? I mean, essentially in a very violent and appalling way.
She was trying to eliminate her rival from the competition.
She was cheating.
Way Corrigan was a shamed porn star. In the 70s.
He looks like Edward Fox there, doesn't he?
Yeah. He's a jockey, isn't he?
No, he was a famous cheat. He had a ticker tape parade in Manhattan where more than 1 million people turned up in the streets. He was inspired by a man called Lindbergh. He was determined to fly across the Atlantic, although Lindbergh had already done it. They told him he wasn't allowed to because his aeroplane wasn't up to snuff. It was a mess. It was an old crate. So what he said happened was he flew from New York to California, but he ended up in Dublin Airport. And he flew across the Atlantic, but claimed that he'd just gone the wrong way by mistake. And to his dying day, he claimed that it was just an error in that, you know, he'd lost one of his compasses. But he was known as Way Corrigan.
Did he ever look out of the window? Because, hey...
He couldn't see. It was night, it was foggy, he says.
It can't have been night for 3,000 miles.
Exactly. He does look like Eddie Fox in The Day and the Jackal. But he said, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Doesn't it?
Mm. Eddie Fox, the only man with a bicep in his face. Wallace, I'm going to have to abdicate.
I was in a play in Chichester years ago, 20-odd years ago. The first play I was ever in. And he was in another play, but I got to know the DSM, as they're called, the Deputy Stage Manager, very well. And she'd not met him, and he suddenly appeared and put a hand on either shoulder and leant into ear and said, if we do go to bed together, it'll be strictly on my terms. Hell of a pick-up line, isn't it?
Ed was one of these guys, he says that he just upstairs into space and suddenly says something. And he was sitting in a dressing room, possibly at Chichester again, actually, and he said, I'm so glad there are no homosexuals in this company. Everyone just looks at him. The other lot in the Antony and Cleopatra play are an absolute fleet of Berties.
Which, who was the first president of America?
Washington.
Another two.
No. Surprisingly not. No, he was probably the 15th.
See?
He was the first president of an independent United States of America, but there had been many presidents of the United States in Congress assembled, presidents of the Continental Congress of America. Mm-hmm. And the first one was called Randolph, Peyton Randolph. The second one was called John Hancock.
Oh, Hancock,
And
yeah.
what does John Hancock mean? Fingers on buzzers quickly, if you're an American. Oh, you got there, David.
It means signature.
Yes. I was just very alarmed when I first went to America and was told to put... I just only did a John Hancock on the... My what? Where? Just put your John Hancock down. Whoa. But that's what it means. They use it all the time.
Well, it's the reason being is that on the Declaration of Independence they all signed it, and everyone went sort of, and that's me. Hancock came along. John
Hancock.
Hancock.
It is.
So you can actually see it from space.
But you're right. His is the big signature on the Declaration of Independence. So there you are. There were 13 others after Peyton, and then on 30th of April, 1789, George Washington was sworn in as the first president to be independent. I'm holding a pen. That brings me cleverly to the Fisher pressurised space pen, of which you may have heard tell. It was developed after a lot of expensive research to enable astronauts to write in zero gravity. What alternative writing implement could they have used instead?
Here comes the big noise. A pencil.
Yeah. There is a kind of urban myth that the Americans spent millions on building a pressurised, gravity-free biro while the clever Russians just used a pencil. But in fact, they started off, both of them, using pencils, and the tip broke. And when the tip breaks, it floats around and it gets into short circuits, things gets into people's eyes and bodies. It's very dangerous indeed.
Oh, but what a laugh that must be to have a pencil sharpener on the space shuttle.
Fun things to
So it's sadly not true, that story. An ordinary biro would have worked. It didn't need a special pressurised one. You need to write upside down. It needs to be pressurised. When there's gravity, but when there's no gravity, an ordinary one will work. Now, the year is 1792. It was a notable year for a number of reasons. It was the year the guillotine was first used.
Which was last used in 1960. Point for that.
No, because it's not true. You're wrong.
It is true.
No, it isn't. We'll come to that, I'm afraid. 1977. The last French... Sorry. No, it was a one-legged French criminal who was guillotined in 1977. 1792 was the year the guillotine was first used and the year of birth of the inventor of the computer and the death of the man after whom the sandwich is named. What was invented...
Lord Sandwich.
Yes. Yes. Well, it wasn't going to be Nora Butty, was it?
Charles Babbage.
Charles Babbage, you're right, is the inventor of the computer, so you've all added to that.
Difference engine.
But, yes, the difference engine.
I know how many people were at his funeral.
Oh, go on.
3.
Really?
Yeah, only 3 people went to his funeral. None of his friends turned up because he was a laughingstock by the time he died, and he'd invented the computer.
Yeah, I know.
Which was only recently
They rebuilt one, didn't they?
Science Museum and turned it, and it works.
In Vietnam, the guillotine was last used in 1960.
However, in France, in 1977...
En France.
En France, exactly, en France.
Has anyone survived it?
Well, do you remember Jim Dale in the film...
Surviving, you can go.
That's smart. That's smart.
Sablon, anything.
Guillotine be gone.
They're just flopping over.
Do you remember Jim Dale in the Carry On film, you know, Don't Lose Your Head? And he's just being guillotined. It's in the French Revolution, they say. There's a note for you from Robespierre. It says, leave it in the basket, I'll read it later on.
There's a horrible truth to that, because, of course, it was maintained by contemporary witnesses that a lot of the heads were quite sentient for some time after decapitation.
Now, coal, as everyone knows, is made from ancient forests. Have any of you used coal to brush your Bexleys?
Never.
Hello.
Oh, are you doing Bexley Heath?
Yes, that was teeth, yes. I know it's Hampstead's usually, but...
Stephen, oh, Stephen, my love, Stephen, the toothpaste is so twinkly and sparkling white. How can it have coal in it?
It doesn't. It's the brush. What are the bristles made of?
Coal.
Well, they are. They're made of something which is a mixture of coal and air and water.
Oh, it's all easy when I've set the siren off, isn't it?
Are we talking about some complicated hydrocarbon, which is a derivative of a petroleum...
Not petroleum, no. Well, no, coal. It's fossil fuel, which is coal, as we know.
Toothbrushes used to be alive millions of years ago.
The point is, we're looking for a substance that man has developed, which he uses to...
nylon.
Is the right answer. Well done.
Do I get points for saying it was developed in New York and London at the same time?
No, you get points taken away from you, because that's not why Oh, you did fall into that one, Rory. Thank you for that. No, it's a myth. It was originally called No Run by its inventor. He was called Carruthers. DuPont, the company for whom he was developing it, wants to call it nylon. Though they didn't trademark the name, you can use the word nylon, unlike another of their famous products. One that is used quite often to describe human characteristics. Teflon, exactly, non-stick. Nice. Teflon is a DuPont invention.
You'd have thought that you could just get a new head for your brush. You could have a handle made for you, perhaps perfectly moulded for your own grip.
Yeah, so you use ivory or... Oh, no, hang on. But, yes...
Rhino horn.
Yes, or panda fur, or... panda bone.
The beak of an osprey.
Yes.
Stephen Fry's all endangered species bathroom cabinet.
Oh, I use his coelacanths to do my back.
No, poor old Carruthers. He gave us neoprene as well. He was a Harvard professor at the age of 28.
Wetsuits.
Wetsuits made of neoprene, exactly, and he invented that here in a very young man, and then unfortunately committed suicide by taking saliva when his wife was pregnant. He must have been very miserable. What? Did I say saliva?
You said I think you did.
That's a Freudian blowjob. I slipped on it.
The poor man Carruthers took cyanide and killed himself. And obviously that's very funny.
Why did he take cyanide? Had he run out of saliva?
I don't...
Where's the bottle of spit I've been saving?
Oh dear, I've made a bit of an ass of myself.
Who is this?
Eros.
Yeah. Well, thank you for falling into our little heffalump trap there. It's actually the angel of Christian charity.
Eros.
Eros was the Greek god of love. This is the angel of Christian charity.
Why is it called Eros, then?
Because people mistakenly thought it was Eros because it had a bow and arrow. Eros is Greek for Cupid, and they thought it was like Cupid's dart. Originally, the arrow pointed up a particular avenue, and the idea was the...
Shaft.
It was burying its shaft up Shaftesbury Avenue, which was named after Lord Shaftesbury, Ashley Cooper, the great...
I know who he was.
Tell me who
he was the bloke that passed all those acts in the 19th century to stop children having to work 95 hours a week.
Exactly right. It was a first, that particular statue. Do you know why?
First one on one leg.
No, not that. The material we're after.
Oh. Bronze, copper, metal, steel, wood.
Metal, certainly. Not wood. It wouldn't be the first wooden or metal statue, would it?
Aluminium.
Aluminium, there you are. Take 5 points, young David Mitchell. Very
I
good
know
indeed.
something about statues of military personnel.
Yes?
On horseback. If they're up on their hind legs, like that, it means they died in battle. And if they got one leg up, it means they died on service, but not in a battle. And if they got all four down, it means they just died after, years later.
Is that really true? If that's true...
It's really true.
I shall have the little elves, the QI elves. Oh, they're flashing me now. This is an urban myth and not true, it says. They're very quick.
It feels like everything that I know is wrong.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Is that Socrates? Did he say that, or am I the first?
That's what comes when you acquire your knowledge by overhearing blokes in pubs.
Yeah. It is a general rule that if any fact given you starts with the word apparently, what kind of creature was actually the first to be sent into space?
A monkey.
Oh, dear.
A squirrel monkey.
And what did you say?
He said dog,
I
sir.
think he did say dog, didn't you, John? Yeah, John said dog.
I bet it was something that they didn't know had gone into
No, they
space.
sent it deliberately. Fly. Fly is correct. Do you know what kind of fly? What sort of flies there was? Fruit fly. You divide points between yourselves. Very good indeed.
Why did they do that?
Well, they're very light, so there was no payload. They sent them up in July 1946 on an American V2, along with some corn seeds. But fruit flies, why are they used so much in science?
Because they can talk and they tell you exactly what's going on. If you're a fly and it's weightless, what happens then? You suddenly sort of stop flapping and go, hang on. This is what I've always dreamed of. No effort. They just say like that. In space, when they go to do number 2, they do it in the wall. They dock into the wall. You're all right.
All right, thank you, Davis. So, one of the things about fruit flies is they... Thank you.
But there's no sound in space.
No.
So you can't hear your own parts.
So amused. That's what's so sweet. He is absolutely adoring it. No, 61% of all known human disease genes have a recognisable match in fruit flies. Fruit flies also go to sleep at night, rather sweetly.
So they get a cold then? They get the common cold?
But they well be one. And the other thing is, every 2 weeks you've got a new generation, so any experimentation you do, you can observe very fast what happens. Yeah. Scientists who work with fruit flies give them jokey names, and I want you to tell me why they're called what they're called. There's a breed, a gene strain, called the Cannon-Barbie fruit fly. Why is it called that?
They've got no penises.
Yes, they have no external genitalia, quite right. There's one called the Maggie. Why would that be called the Maggie?
Handbag.
Bit fascistic. Hates the unions, bit right-wing.
No, because it suffers from arrested development, like Maggie in...
The Simpsons.
Yes, someone in the audience got that before you. They must award themselves a point. So there's the Maggie one. There's the Cheap Date, which is sensitive to ethanol intoxication. China. The city of Qinan, spelt Qinan, but pronounced Jinan in China, is about the same size as Corby, you can see it behind us, and is also, by coincidence, the site of one of the country's largest steelworks. But what quite interesting material do they make their houses from? Yeah.
I don't know, is it dinosaur eggs?
I'm almost inclined to tear up the real answer and say yes, but...
Because I've got one.
A Chinese dinosaur egg?
Yes, it was a birthday present from my wife.
Every evening, Bill, 4 hours on the egg, just in case.
Yeah. I'm thinking about taking it abroad, you know. Taking it through the airport, you know, see if I can get it scanned for free, you know, just put it... So he goes, my God, what the... You know, look, I thought of doing that when the tortoise was ill, couldn't get it... It's stone. It's fossil, obviously. It's stone, weighs... I thought it was a skull at first when I opened it. And I thought, that's a bit of a weird present, but I'll go along with it. Yeah, great. And they're huge, and they make very good building blocks. So they...
Well, it wasn't as gibberingly, drivellingly stupid an answer as it at first sounded.
No.
No, it's not that. It is a very famous Chinese thing that these houses are
Bamboo.
constructed of. Oh, dear. Not bamboo. No.
Oh,
sir. Yeah.
bootleg Coldplay CDs.
Bits of the Great War.
Yes is the right answer. Help yourself to 10 points. Absolutely right. Yeah, it's a rather sad thing, this Great Wall of China. It is disappearing. There's only 20% of it left.
Where has it gone?
Well, people just cart bits off to build pigsties and walled barns, and farmers just take bits because it's handy material. The Gobi Desert is encroaching upon the Great Wall.
Is it?
Yeah, unfortunately.
How rude.
Yeah, I know.
How does the desert encroach? Sort of like, you sort of look away and then...
Clay's grandmother's footsteps.
I'm sure it was. It's the same way you get the armrest on a train.
They should convert it into flats or something, you know, something useful.
That'd be brilliant.
If they converted it into flat... Look, it's thick enough for flats. You just need to knock a few windows on either side. And then you could probably have, you know, 400,000 or 500,000 flats all the way along it. And then people would look after their own bit with, you know, window boxes and everything.
Or a retail opportunity. The Great Mall of China would probably do it. That would do it. But, no. But there you are. There are points all round to everybody who deserves them and none to those who don't. In the Middle Ages, what shape did people think the world was?
Flat.
I know we all think they did, but there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever. They all thought it was round. They all wrote about it as round. The Greeks knew that it was round.
Round and flat?
No, they thought it was a sphere. Terry Jones, the Python, who is something of a medievalist, as you may know, he blames Washington Irving, the American writer, for one of those being who started this lie, as he puts it. The Greeks knew it was round, he says. Chaucer knew it was round. Roger Bacon wrote about the curvature of the Earth in the 13th century. So, apparently...
Well, I think the majority of people didn't really care.
No, but they started.
As indeed, we don't now actually care that it's round. If it was square, it wouldn't bother me. I'd rush to the edge. In fact, I'd want to go right to the corner.
You'd sit on the corner.
How do we know it's round?
Yeah, huh?
Round the world tickets.
One is photographing. Photographing it was a very big help. We took a photograph and we saw that it was round.
But then you could say that about anything about people going to the moon, and we know they didn't.
If it weren't round, all the flights of aeroplanes, if it weren't round, just nothing that we're
How do we know they
would
just don't fly, just circle round for a bit and let you think that you're going miles and miles and miles and just come down, like, you know, a couple of hours away, and they've set Russia up a lot nearer than it is?
It's a really, 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 really long oblong shape.
On a track, like an electric bike, and they
We
just
just
move it.
whizzing
The
round
plane goes
on a-
up, the plane doesn't move. They move the country in front of them.
Are all the stars round?
I can't answer that. I think probably most.
But yet you know what people thought 500 years ago.
Can I read books? Yes. Have I visited every star in the universe? No. Is that something that you find difficult to understand? You set me off. You've set Sir off again.
Don't you think that this series has reached the point, with a dedicated following who trust us, that this would be the point where you could say just one thing in a show? You could say, just like this, the world isn't round. It's been proven. Most people will now believe it who watch this show.
Well, I can say with some confidence, ladies and gentlemen, the world is not round. It is an oblate spheroid.
No, that's not what I meant.
No, I'm sorry. I was being literalist.
Pine cone. If you'd said the world is shaped like a pine cone. Just to see how many letters we get.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, wouldn't it? Get some at last, anyway. Apart from the, well, you know who you are, don't you? And I tried it, and it was a disaster. Yes, no, since the 4th century BC, almost no one in the history of the world has believed that the Earth is flat. It's a common misconception, and indeed the song lyric, they all laughed at Christopher Columbus when he said the world was round. But he didn't think that the world was round. He thought it was actually pear-shaped, funnily enough. Who was the only survivor of the Crimean War?
When did it officially end, then?
That's what you have to find out. Sebastopol and Balaclava and the charge of the Light Brigade, it's that war, yes.
And we got their cannons and made the VC out of them.
It was around the time that the cannon was being invented. It was around the 1850s, 1854. But in those days, when Britain went to war, because of a very peculiar law, there was one part of Britain that was exempt from being called either England or Scotland.
Berwick.
Berwick upon Tweed.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely right. Berwick upon Tweed was given a special status as being of the United Kingdom, but not in it. So when British went to war with Russia, it was Victoria, Queen of Britain, Ireland, Berwick upon Tweed, and the British dominions beyond the sea was in the phraseology of the declaration of war. But in 1856, they didn't mention Berwick upon Tweed in the peace treaty, so it was still technically at war until 1966, when the mayor of Berwick upon Tweed actually signed a treaty with Russia, saying now at last you can tell the Russian people that they may sleep easily in their beds.
I thought Berwick still was separate, isn't it?
They're in England, but they play in the Scottish League.
Is that right? Excellent. So there we have it. There's a war that went from 1854 to 1966. A creature that had been on a ship at Sebastopol in the war was still alive when the war ended. It was the only thing still alive. A tortoise is absolutely right. It was a naval tortoise called Timothy the Tortoise. Yeah.
Isn't he just the one that just died?
No, there he is. He's fine.
He carried on living until 2004. Survivor of the Crimean War. He was the ship's mascot of the HMS Queen during the first bombardment of Sebastopol.
Did he actually fight in the war?
No. He had survived the war, but was in it, involved in it, in neighbouring fighting
Then you
tortoise.
crawl back to your line, and then you chuck him again.
The glorious fighting tortoises in the British Army.
They didn't use him to send messages.
That's why it took so long.
The enemy is coming.
Has he delivered the peace treaty yet? He's on his way.
Is the largest lake in Canada?
Width or depth?
Not depth. Not
Can
depth.
I attempt an answer at this?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Oh dear. Oh dear. We were predicting that one. Yeah. Who cares?
There are so many lakes in Canada, more than 1 million in Manitoba alone.
Yes.
And, you can buy a lake and have it named after you. It's because the water doesn't drain away. There's no water table.
You can, but the one's really, really big. It's bigger than Albania. It's bigger
Is it one
than
of the
Belgium.
Great Lakes technically Canadian? Are they all?
No, you've avoided our little trap there, actually, which Joe didn't by saying who cares. If you'd said one of the Great Lakes, it would have been a big noise because this lake has to be entirely in Canada.
What's the difference between largest and biggest?
Well, in other languages, largest mean widest, I suppose, and biggest being just greatest in size. But largest we now mean to mean biggest. It originally meant wide. Large is wide in French, isn't it?
Right, thanks.
I mean, we are very lucky because we have both Latin and the Romance languages and the Anglo-Saxon languages to draw on, so we can say big and large.
Yeah.
Say little and small.
Little and large.
Little and large, indeed. Funny enough, when you said the deepest lake, the deepest lake is Lake Manitou. And Lake Manitou is a weird lake because it's also got the largest lake island in the world in it. And that island has got a lake in it, which is the largest lake in an island that's in a lake in the world.
It just goes on to infinity.
It does, doesn't it? No, the answer is the Great Bear Lake. None of the 5 Great Lakes is entirely empty. Why did Big Beard Wang regularly shave his pussy?
Well, I'm afraid I'm disappointed that we've got a cheap laugh from the word pussy.
I was laughing at Wang, actually.
I think it's a person, perhaps.
You're right.
Big Beard Wang, who one could assume he had a large beard.
And he shaved his cat.
Well, he was a barber. He was a barber to a very famous man.
Was he a Chinese barber?
He was a Chinese
An emperor, was there?
A kind of emperor, I suppose, though he would certainly not call himself one. But
Chairman Mao.
Chairman Mao, indeed. And Mao is the Chinese for...
Cat.
Cat! Exactly. Meow, you would think, but no, it really is. Mao is cat.
Is that cat on the end of Chairman Mao's...
That's why he's smiling.
I don't remember that as one of those communist posters.
It means cat, Mao, and it also means hat, oddly enough. So, Mao Li Di Mao means the cat in the hat. When the Titanic sank, what was the first thing that happened to the crew?
Terrible luck for them, but they actually had their 6-month review. And...
They drowned.
Did you say they drowned?
I said they drowned.
Oh,
yeah.
dear, no.
No, I was going to say they were fired.
Every single member of the crew had their wages stopped at the moment of the sinking. They stopped paying them. The moment a ship sinks, it is no longer a ship, therefore you can't work on it, therefore the White Star Line paid them up to the minute of the sinking and not the end.
I would imagine that in a sinking situation, you'd hope to be getting time and a half.
This is it. Frankly, double bubble.
Just a little something at the back end.
Yeah. As soon as you're in the water, you've got to be looking for work.
Get on your pedalo and look for work. But apparently at the time, White Star were considered one of the more generous employers. I think it was £5 a month, not very much. Do you know about the Duff Gordon family on the Titanic?
And their terrible gin.
Very good. No, they offered the crew of lifeboat number 1 £5 to save their lives. Nobody's quite sure whether this was just greed, saying, I'll give you £5 if you save my life, or whether it was a thank you because their lives were saved. But whatever the result, the crew themselves were in terrible trouble for accepting a bribe. And one poor lad, Albert Horswell, survived. He was one of the lifeboat crew, got home, went to see his mother, who slammed the door in his face and never spoke to him again because she was ashamed that he had taken a bribe.
Yeah, she was also bonkers, though.
Yeah.
Like Mrs. Horswell.
Is it true someone dressed as a lady?
Supposedly someone did because it was women and children first.
I thought you said somebody dressed as a baby.
Lady.
Yes, Gugu, indeed. I have a lollipop, and I have no control of my bowels or urination. I am indeed an infant, and I know you think I'm Lord Albemarle, but actually I am a little baby with a beard. Yeah. Gugu. And, madam, might I tell you I've been a very naughty baby?
So along that path, the ones who were paid £5 were only the able seamen. How can you tell able from ordinary seamen? When you applied for a job as seaman on in the mercenary, you either registered as an able seaman or an ordinary seaman, and they accepted your word. But you kept a log of your work, which was the real proof of it, and it was called a certificate of continuous discharge. Tell me all about the 12 Frenchmen and the 12 mosquitoes. Dara O'Brien.
Once upon a time, there were 12 Frenchmen called Happy, Sleepy, Arrogant, Furieux, des choses comme ça, bof, and Zutelor. That's 6. Fenêtre, boulangerie,
Le table.
Le table, of course, and jambon et fromage, the twins. And they used to travel around with mosquitoes, solving adventures.
And what were the mosquitoes called?
Fuzzy,
stingy.
It was a very, very low-rent 1950s French detective season that involved, at some point, the extraction of a tiny amount of blood from one of the suspects.
Do you know what else a mosquito can be other than a...
It was a World War II plane made out of wood.
Made out of wood, exactly, made out of balsa wood and plywood. What was their great raid?
Tuck shop.
I don't know, was it made into a film?
It was. They were 12 members of the Resistance, the Maquis, and they were due to be shot by the Gestapo. And the Allies would send in these 12 mosquitoes to bomb the chateau in Amiens, so all the prisoners would escape.
I can't believe that they just blow the bloody doors off.
Basically, that was
the whole place with 12 bombers.
You're right. What happened was they had to go down an avenue of poplars, which was so narrow they had to fly.
The poplars?
Yeah, but exactly like that. That's what you'll have to do. There were 700 prisoners in the prison. 102 were killed by the raid to start with. 74 were wounded.
Yeah.
Then 258 escaped, of which 179 were rounded up within the next few days by the Germans again.
My girlfriend's grandfather flew one of those, and he actually goes now and visits in Germany with the Luftwaffe pilot whose plane he shot down during the war. And they go and they sit around and, you know, go, ha, great days. But neither of them speak the other language. Like he doesn't speak German, the Luftwaffe doesn't speak English, but they sit there and...
Sit back.
Yeah. The temptation, if you're standing behind
And for over 50 years, that German man has been peeing in your granddad's tea.
We had an Airfix model of one of those. I gave it to my dad for his birthday, and he made it before breakfast.
You put the transfers on?
Yeah, painted it and everything.
Yeah. That was a pain, because you had to put them in hot water and wait for them to slip off. And then, of course, with chubby 6-year-old fingers, you just end up covered in swastikas. It's not a good look, you go to school and they think you're in the BNP, and it's, no, I've been trying to make a hindfall, sir.
What happened, this is my question to you, what happened to 3/4 of the people accused of witchcraft in England?
Drowned, burned, killed.
We were much gentler than you might think. They were acquitted.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that sending the wrong message to witches, essentially?
We were apparently rather resistant to the idea of destroying witches in England, and unlike views espoused in so-called books, and I use the word book very loosely, like the Da Vinci Code. It is complete loose stool water. It is arse gravy of the worst kind. Anyway,
he's a blues singer.
Please welcome Loose Stool Water. Very good. Excellent. Well, that particular panful of that material did claim that about 5 million women were burned or hanged around Europe for being witches. There's absolutely no evidence there's anything like as much as that. Probably about 500, probably less in England. And they weren't burned, they were hanged.
The lawyer would have said, maybe not go to court dressed like that. No.
Yeah. 2 possibly burned. That's the only evidence that 2 were burned. The rest were hanged, probably about 400 or 500 at the most. There are lots of Hammer films. The Devil Rides Out and those kind of things. Usually Peter Cushing, and sometimes, if you were very lucky, they would have Charles Grey in a huge white smock. Where do most tigers live?
Asia.
Most... What? I think you got in there first, didn't you? No, not true.
Not true?
No, not
Zoos. So you can have a couple of points off.
No, not zoos neither.
Las Vegas.
Well, America, certainly in America, private hands. Most big cats are in private hands.
You know, I had to do a photo shoot once with a tiger, and these 2 blokes turned up with a big, enormous chain and a tiger on the end of it, and they said, shouldn't really handle them after the age of 10 months. I said, how old's that one? He said, 11 months.
There's a wonderful animal handler woman, you know, a very gruff sort of woman. We were doing a scene where this dog was just shagging everything. And this woman, they're a very odd mixture of severe and unbelievably twee. She said, any more of that behaviour, she said to the dog, we'll have a short, sharp visit from the smack fairy. It sounds like a drug dealer, exactly. Extraordinary. Smack fairy. The answer to our tiger question is the United States, especially Texas. According to the National Geographic, there are more tigers kept as pets in the USA than there are remaining in their wild habitats in Asia. As many as 500 lions, tigers and other big cats in the Houston area alone. Who invented the theory of relativity?
Oh,
this is one of your...
Oh, so little trust in the world.
It was Albert Egmont. I'm not going to say.
He was a very great physicist.
Which one?
Theory of relativity.
Which one?
The theory of relativity. Not the special one, not the general one. Very good question. The first theory of relativity. That put to rest Aristotle's theory of absolute rest, in fact. Because you're a bit of an old science bod.
Yeah, but, you know, not in a way that I'd like to be quizzed on television about.
I bet it turns out to be Einstein and an elaborate bluff.
How much do you want to risk the...
The cloak of doubt.
Big hitter. The biggest, really.
Newton.
Second biggest, then.
Einstein.
Oh, did you say Einstein? All that care! You took so much care not to say Einstein.
You know, fish bite hooks.
No, Galileo Galilei. I'm thinking of Galileo.
He just did telescopes.
Tell him. Put him right about Galileo. Just founder of all modern physics.
Could he make a good pasta sauce?
Anyway, there we are. Einstein was responsible for the special and the general theories of relativity in 1905 and 1915 or 16. 15, I think you're right, yes, respectively. But the original idea of relativity